Hello and welcome. I'm Michael Gracia here, and welcome to Get in Tune. Um, excuse me, I'm just doing some testing right now on the screen here. I just want to set stuff up a little better. So I'm going to have to go over here. All right, so what I wanted to do today was kind of discuss a little bit about 2020, kind of wrap it up. Discuss my future plans for 2021. Um, so 2020 was a really obviously rough year for a lot of people. I was one of those that ended up with COVID back in April into May. It slowed me down on my work, and I think because of other medical issues I deal with, it kind of slowed me down in general. I'm feeling better. I think I'm kind of back up to normal, but I didn't produce what I wanted to. When the pandemic happened and COVID, uh, everything started, and I think it was a great time for artists and other creatives to start producing work. And I would, I don't want to say the word preach about it, but I would talk about that a lot. Um, I think a lot of us artists went into doing our own like podcasting shows using services like StreamYard that I'm using here. I started one called Get in Tune, and that was my educational brand, where I travel schools, libraries, and other things and teach kids about comics, animation, and whatnot. Um, but then when this happened, I branched out into doing interviews with creators, hopefully trying to push indie creators, people who are creators like me, and that was my goal. It was let's push them, and it was also about a good time to produce work. So I had a children's book planned out. I had a 12-page comic I had planned out. I had a lot of stuff going on that I wanted to do, and it was really going to be like, this is the time. And unfortunately, due to me getting COVID and slowing down and having to have day jobs, only the children's book got done. I haven't posted it yet anywhere. I hope to put it up this week finally. I know I missed the holiday sales possibly, but you know, I can start really promoting it, um, for 2021, make it a new 2021 product. Um, the 12-page comic is in the works. It's basically been drawn out. I've digitized it and I'm scanning it in, and I'm just going over it in inks, and then I'll do colors and stuff. It won't get done this week, but I'm hoping to have it ready to go by February. I'm just planning everything out. I'd like to bring my Wiz comic back. I haven't had a chance to draw it. This week will probably be the time I start drawing it. Um, but I hope to start releasing that in March. I also have a friend writing a script on one of the characters I created and plotted out a story for him to write because I didn't want to write it. And it's called The Adventures of Dex Photon. And if we stay on schedule with that, that will be released as a webcomic probably end of summer, beginning of fall 2021, and it'll last a full year. So I'm looking at sites where I want to post. I have a few other projects in the works. I will say that doing these videos, whether they've been on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, wherever I've posted to, it has gotten some notice. I will not talk about anything, but there are some possible opportunities coming my way in 2021 that um, I need to focus on. So I think a lot of what I'll be doing is working with the educational Get in Tune line, and focusing on that while I'm making my comics and stuff. Because without making the comics and showing that I know what I'm doing. What I'm doing. It's doing the education aspect of my stuff is kind of pointless. Um, I'll be redoing my studio a little bit, not a lot, but you can see, if for those of you who watch regularly, you can see I moved a lot of the Jose Garcia Lopez to the side wall, and I put some other stuff up behind it. I'll probably be removing some things and changing the background just to give it a little bit different of a feel for the videos. Um, Thinking actually of purchasing maybe even a green screen backdrop, the ones that go over the chair, and add a different background every time, depending on what I'm talking about in my videos. I haven't decided, but it's not a large investment. I'm willing to drop the money. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on now. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cats outside the door crying. Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, 2020 was rough. I had goals to have at least 3 projects done. I got 1. Like I said, I feel back to normal. I don't feel as slow as I used to be after COVID. After, I think it took a lot to get me healthy again. Um, and and yeah, so I'm going to be working on a 12-page comic. I'm going to be getting my whiz slowly back together. Um, I do have a project I'm working on. Oh, Bronx Heroes, you don't need a green screen, baby. Thanks, Bronx Heroes, or should I say Ray. I appreciate that. I'm just thinking of the only reason I'm thinking of the green screen is to maybe throw some, maybe moving things behind me, some animations and whatnot, making it a little more interesting for when I'm doing the educational stuff, or even some of my interviews. Glad you're feeling better. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. I got to get you back on the Get in Tune show, and talk about stuff. So yeah. So anyway, 2021 looks very positive for work. Um, I'm doing a couple of freelance gigs. I can't really talk about I can't really talk about 2 of them right now, because they haven't been announced. But the only one I can talk about, and because it's been promoted, Don Chin, who was a guest on my show, um, who was one of the people who was the co-creator of the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters back in the late 80s. He's bringing back Parody Press, and I'm working with a friend on some work for him. Sorry, what's it says here? Bronx, that's a cool idea. You can hypnotize people to fund your show. Maybe we'll see what happens. I am. There's a lot. Like I said, I can't talk about it, but there's a lot of different things going on with my videos that that might open up to some kind of finance for me. I'm not gonna say what or how much or from who. It's just not what I talk about. I don't want to jinx anything, so I don't talk about anything until I know I'm allowed to. But yeah, no. So I think what was great, and I just want to share my screen real quick here. I've done a bunch of Get in Tune interviews, right? I can't even tell you how many. I started it. I think it was somewhere May, June time. So if we go by weeks, what's that been? 20, 30 weeks, maybe? I don't know. Maybe more. I've had a show every week except for, I think, one. Let me just get up what I'm looking for here. Why is this? This is the problem when you have 3 monitors going on. You never know which monitor you're on. Come on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add right here. So why is that happening all the time? I don't know why things look cut. Let me remove. Hold on. Let me stop share. I want to talk about one of the comics here. Now, my first real guest was Renee Fitzner, this is one of his books here, Mythic Creature Trainer, and he was doing a Kickstarter for it, which was successful, and I wanted to interview him because of it. And I think it was great. He also has another book called Sneaky Goblins. But if you don't know about Ray, I'm not Ray, sorry, Renee. Ray is hopefully still watching. But if you don't know about Renee, he was my first guest. He was an animator for Disney back. He's from Australia, so he was working on I think, more of the direct to DVD things back in the 90s and 2000s. When Disney had an animation studio out in Australia. When he left, he did some other things. What he does now is he animates Bible shorts for some company. I don't remember the name of it, but Mythic Creature Trainer caught my eye because I love its style. I love the story in it, and I don't know why, if you guys are seeing a messed up version here. Let me see. Sometimes if I go back here and click on it, I don't know why it's happening. So I won't share too much of it, but yeah. So it was a fantastic story. He got his book funded. It wasn't just because of my show, but I like to think I helped out. But yeah, no, this guy was amazing, and I'm a big fan of his work. And if you haven't seen it, I have a PDF copy. When I donated to his Kickstarter, I opted for the PDF version of the books and the level. I got about 3 or 4 different PDFs from him, and right, it's a great story. He says that looks pretty cool. He says, I gotta head to work, but give me a call soon. Yep, I'll see you next year, Ray. We'll talk soon. But yeah, no, it was just a fun story. And if you're into mythology, if you're into kid-friendly stuff, and that's what he does, and that's what I always try to promote. I have no issue with mature themes or whatever, and I will probably be having 1 or 2 guests that I've already scheduled that do create mature themed work. And I don't have a problem. I'm happy to promote it if, there's an audience out there for everyone. And I want to see everybody reach their target audience. I want to see good stories, good art get shared, especially if they're indie creators. Now, I don't mind chatting with larger name artists, and I mean, I'm fans of so many. One of the people I would dream to chat with is Jerry Ordway. He's one of my all-time favorite comic artists, and I hope to maybe reach out to him soon and get him on the show. But I want to promote people who need the help getting their books out there, getting their names out there. They may be popular in the indie comic market, and artists may know them, but they may not be known by a larger, wider audience, and that's what I want to do. So what I'm looking to do, and I already have basically January and February booked. I might even have a couple already in March booked. I'm just waiting on confirmations. But you know what? I'm going to stop sharing the screen because it's bothering me that you guys are probably seeing it cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be reaching out to a bunch of people. And if anyone's watching who's an indie creator and, you kind of meet the requirements, which for my show, which is nothing crazy. You just got to have good stories, good art, and, not even good art. It could be mediocre art. I'm not making fun of anyone's work. I just want to push good storytelling. And there's always been that rule in comics that it's 70% story, 30% art. So, if the art is okay, the story is fantastic, I want to push it. If the story is not so good, I'm not going to want to talk about it. I know that sounds kind of crappy. I want to give people chances because everybody grows, especially if you're a web comic. You may not write well in the beginning and you're just getting your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your footing, and you're going to get better. And that happens. I think my first I'm not gonna lie. When I put out The Wiz, I thought it was a terrible strip. I did it as a way for me to get back into writing humor and trying to get on a schedule to post to at least twice a week and having a comic done. I ended up, I know I'm going to talk about getting sick again, but in May 2019, I spent a week in the hospital with pneumonia, and I had to start backing down and slowing down. I was doing a lot of cons. I was running kids sections at shows. I was away. I couldn't even tell you how many weeks. I'm not going to lie. If it was 30 weeks a year, it could have been 10. Even if it was 10, it felt like it was 30. So there was a lot I had to back down, and I just felt The Wiz needed a break just for me. And then I always wanted to bring him back because I like him, but I felt The Wiz and I weren't talking anymore. And I don't know, unless you're a creator, you can understand that when you create characters, you kind of just say, okay, today I'm going to put this character's going to the zoo, and they're going to tell you how they react at the zoo if they see something. So it wasn't until really I started doing my Get in Tune interviews, and I was talking with artists, and a lot of them, being strip artists like Brad Perry, excuse me, who does Pirate Mike, and Tim Jones, who does Sour Grapes, and Roger Phillips of The Gray Zone, Sean Bonnet as Suburban Fairy Tales. And by the way, everything I'm mentioning are some of my favorite webcomic strips, or even if they're published, they're great. I haven't reached out to him, but I did interview him many years ago for something else, and I'd like to bring him back. But Dan Thompson, who does Rip Haywire and Harley, I love both of those strips. I think Rip has been a big influence in some of my drawing style. I mean, here's a guy who, and I know this about, you can tell even without even interviewing him, but Dan's work, he obviously loves Hanna-Barbera, or at least influenced by Hanna-Barbera and Dick Tracy. And he took the graphic style of Dick Tracy and kind of toned it down into a much simpler form. So it has that little bit of Hanna-Barbera feel to it. And also I think some Bruce Timm is in there. You can see the 90s Batman, the animated series. And it's just this great, perfect style, at least to me. And he makes it work. And it's this great, if you haven't read Rip Haywire, check it out. It's about a soldier of fortune. And it's a comedy. It's an action comedy. And it's a story strip, which you don't usually see in comics anymore. And I think it's fantastic that's out there. And you can see these on gocomics.com. Give me a second. I need a sip of water. But talking to all these guys is what has inspired me to bring my Wiz back. And I looked back at my old Wiz strips, and I guess we're our own worst critic, because I looked back and I saw some art that I was like, ugh, I didn't really care for how I did it. But again, I can explain why my art looks different as I go through it. But this writing, I saw a few jokes that were like, oh, this is kind of weak, but I thought a lot of them were pretty strong for more of that traditional comic strip that you would see in the newspaper. It was not political. It was just, here's a little gag. Maybe it made you laugh out loud. Maybe it was a little chuckle or a little, kind of that type of laugh. But I'm like, these were pretty good. And after talking to people like the ones I mentioned, it started inspiring me again. And all of a sudden, the Wiz and I started talking again. And I want to do it once a week because I don't want to stress myself out. So I'm going to publish it once a week. I haven't decided on the day yet, but I'm not going to start publishing it until I have at least 20 strips drawn and, completed to go. I have written about 50 now. I need 2 more, and I got an entire year's worth of comics. And that doesn't mean everything I'm going to do is going to change. I did have a Wiz book in production already, that I was going to release with all the strips that I did in the 2018-2019 year, which is about, I think, 60 or 70 strips. And it was called like The Wiz, The End for now, because I didn't know if I was ever coming back to it. And I never put it together. I never published it. But outside of a couple of pages, it's all set to go. So that's on my list of things to do. And I think I might change the title. I haven't decided yet. It was a great time. I had fun doing it. Now the art changed a bit throughout my time drawing it. I was working, the goal when I first got it was, can I write and draw a comic twice a week using only my iPad? And this is before Photoshop was on the iPad. This is before I knew about Clip Studio Paint on the iPad. I was using an app called the Comic Draw app. And I don't want to knock the app because I think it's a great app. And you can write, you can pencil, ink, color, all in there. And I think when it came down to it, the app was great for penciling. I consider myself more of a penciler than an inker, than a what's the word I'm looking for? A inker or a colorist or any of that stuff. I'm definitely more of a penciler. And the pencils I thought were great. Now I don't know if it's because I don't consider myself an inker. I don't like my inks that much sometimes. I felt I didn't like the way it inked. I also felt I didn't like the way it colored. But again, I'm colorblind. I see colors, but when they blend, I have trouble seeing them. So I'm really what's called shade blind. It's a form of color blindness. So I don't know. Maybe it was just the way I saw the colors, whatever. And I did the first maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 strips, like maybe more. And I was very upset by it. So maybe that's what I didn't like over the jokes. I eventually moved over to Clip Studio and to Photoshop, and going between the two. Now, I like drawing in Photoshop because I've been using it since 1995. I have my Cintiq down here right in front of me. And it's a 27-inch screen, so I like that I have a lot of room. I have a background in animation. I think from animation, I just use large strokes all the time, and I don't like to be super tight when I'm drawing. So I like that. And so Photoshop allows me to. I have Clip Studio on my computer as well, so I'm allowed to. I can flip between the two, and I like them for different reasons. At the end of the day, I probably work more in Photoshop than Clip Studio because, well, I've been using Photoshop so long I can do things with my eyes closed, But so I know that's kind of the 2019, and we're not really talking about that right now, 2020. But that was what I wasn't happy with the Wiz. And I did, and like I said, doing all this stuff, all these streaming things, has been very inspiring. And the Wiz will come back in 2021. I think 2021 is going to be, I don't want to say a big year for me, but production-wise, I'm hoping if I can stay on track with everything, you guys will see a lot of stuff coming from me. I haven't produced a lot of work in years. There's lots of different reasons. There were things like medical issues, whether I was sick, like when I had COVID or I had pneumonia or something going on. Could have been depression, which I get on occasion. It could have been lots of things. Getting comfortable having a day job and knowing money's coming in, that I kind of slacked off and relaxed. And I think that happens to a lot of people. But I realized that even though I have a day job and I don't want to say I don't hate it, but I don't mind it, that I realized art has been my business for years. I've been a professional artist since I was 18. We're going back to 1994. And the only reason I haven't worked in the industry in full time in a while is because I've been in education so long. Um, as an educator, and I hate to say this because there are people out there who are great educators, great artists. Sometimes when you work in education, you kind of get knocked for being in the industry, or the industry knocks you because it's like they think you're going to act like a teacher and be like, well, I know more than you, um, and you're going to tell them how to do things because you're the educator. Um, for me, that's not the way I've ever been at a job. I just do my job, So I'm rebuilding some portfolio pieces to get back out there. I've been an art director in the past. I've worked as a graphic designer. I've done animation. I've done illustration. I would just love to get back to doing something more art related full time and do my excuse me, my education stuff, the Get in Tune stuff on the side. Unless that becomes a full time gig for me, I would be thrilled to travel to schools and libraries and talk to kids about art and animation. I mean, it's great to watch kids get inspired and get excited when it's like, oh, I didn't know I could do this just because I put a few shapes together. And it's like, oh, I want to draw comics now. Um, I don't know if you can see, and I don't, whoops, this way, but behind me, nope, wrong finger, over there, I got a bunch of my Dungeons and Dragons stuff set up. The reason I have that set up is because I'm going to be doing some DMing for at least one library. For I think they're more like middle school aged kids. I don't remember their age group, but so that's going to be fun and creative for me. Sorry, excuse me. I don't know why my throat's bothering me today. I think I think I'll have fun with that. I'm writing a story for the kids right now. A little. I'd have an hour and a half with them at least at the current library I'm working with. They would have I'd have an hour and a half with them, so I'm basically writing what I'd consider to be a one shot, and we'll go over like a month, throughout a month with the story. Because if you guys play, a one shot could be 3 to like 5 hours, and it's just one sitting. So, and I have a couple, at least one, maybe two other libraries interested in me doing that. So that's kind of cool. The only hard work in that is to take a story and create stories that are good for the age group, and make sure I don't use certain words that Dungeons and Dragons that could be common in D&D, because I'm working with kids and I'm working with almost like a public education thing, so I'd have to leave out words like holy and religious and sacred and demons and things like that. So the way I'm working it is, I'm just going to use more generic type of monsters, and if I go up, have trolls or something that you would find like in a kid story, like the troll under the bridge or something, and but I mean, I'll have other things, dragons, more basic, generic things in there. And I think I have a fun story for these kids because they've been playing for a while. And that, that I don't want to say that's it. It's there's a lot going on for me, and I would, and I'm excited for 2021. I hate to say it this way, but I kind of hate that the quarantine ended because I was getting so much done when I started feeling better and we were still all quarantined. Now that we're out, now that I go back to my day job, now that I do other things, that time that I had, and I hate that I got sick, because that time that I really lost a month, I'd say a month and a half of work, because of getting COVID. And I will say, it wasn't, for those out there who haven't had it or don't know people who have, it wasn't a fun experience. I literally slept on my couch for like 2 weeks straight, like the entire day away. I would wake up, I'd take my regular medicine I take for my other medical issues, and then pass out. I didn't eat. I lost in about 2-3 weeks, I lost about 20 pounds. And the bad thing is, I gained like 25 back when I got better. I always knew I'd gain weight back because of how fast I lost it, but I didn't think I'd gain that much back. So back at working hard on losing weight, especially now that the holidays are over and all my Christmas cookies are almost gone, and you know, all those desserts and heavy foods that I would normally not eat are kind of out of the house now. So back to my basically vegetarian diet. So what else? I did want to draw while I chatted with you guys, but obviously there's some issue when you guys see what I see on the screen, and I don't want to have you guys look at something that just looks kind of awful because the screen froze or something. Let me see something real quick here. So yeah, I'm doing a lot. Things are on track for possibly some really good, really interesting things for me. The other thing I want to say about 2020, and by the way, still this isn't my last video for this week, for the end of 2020. I want you to know that tomorrow night, my Get in Tune will be on at 8:30 p.m. on the getintoon.net Facebook page, YouTube. It'll probably be on my Twitch channel, which is ToonMaker76, and that's TOONE. I'm having Todd Matthey come on. He's the writer and creator of was it Robots vs. Princesses, which I've only read the first issue to. It's a 4-part series. I don't remember which publisher published it. It was either Dynamite or IDW, I think, one of the two. Anyway, I want to pick up the trade one day. It's the first issue, very intriguing. It's very much Disney princesses meet Transformers. It's a really interesting concept. We got a comment, Naomi. You could do it. Just believe in yourself. Realize how far you've gone and how you'll continue to do so. We're rooting for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Living with medical issues can be tough for anyone, even if you don't have medical issues. Just trying to create art while having a day job to pay bills it can be tough. You're tired. My summer job, I will say this, was so rough on me, and I think because I work at a camp every summer, and I think I went back too soon. It started at the end of June. I just got done, quarantining in May, and I don't think I was ready to go back. So I would literally drive to work, and it was in New York City. I live 15 minutes from the job, but with traffic, it was a 45-minute drive, and on the way home, sometimes it was close to an hour. So between driving in traffic, working a full day, and then when I got home, I would literally take a shower, eat dinner, and fall asleep. And then my wife would wake me up to say, it's time to take your meds and go to sleep. And that's basically how I spend June, July, and most of August. So it was a hard summer. I didn't get any work done at all. Luckily, I was still able to do my Get in Tune interviews, and luckily they set up my schedule for Tuesdays that it was very light for me. But yeah, no, I'm feeling 1,000 times better, and I'm doing work. When I'm home, I spend the majority of the time in the studio. I have taken a few days off recently. Basically, since Wednesday to yesterday, I didn't do anything that I would consider actual work. I sketched, I doodled, I just vegged it yesterday. Honestly, my wife and I, we vegged out watching TV, catching up on movies and things that we haven't seen that we've been wanting to, whether they were years old or just released. We watched Soul yesterday. If you guys get a chance to see it, it's a very good Disney Pixar movie. I will say this. I love Disney and Pixar movies. It was one of those films that I thought was really well done, but I don't think I ever need to own merchandise from it. I'm not like, I wasn't so like, oh my God, this is amazing, that I want something to always remember the movie of. Like, if you can see behind up there, I have a Little Mermaid print. My wife actually got me that for Christmas, because I'm a big fan of the Little Mermaid movie. And like that, I like to have merch from. I do have other pieces somewhere scattered throughout my studio here of the Little Mermaid. I think on, well, yeah, it's that side of the room here. It's on my left, your right, I guess. I'm just looking around. I got Star Wars stuff. If I move a little bit here, you can see I have a. It's hard to see because of the shadow, but a Darth Vader cookie jar there. No cookies in there. It's just decor. We got a Mandalorian print up there. My wife got me as a gift. Anything else you can look up around? No, nothing else really that's new in the studio right now, that you guys can see at this angle. But yeah, I like to keep things around no matter where I look around in my room. I'm always inspired of something that helped inspire me. The Little Mermaid story I've told I don't know how many times on the air. It was nothing more than, I was 13, I think, when it came out. I didn't want to watch it because I thought it was a girls' movie. We rented it. My sister watched it. I sat in there and watched it. And when Ariel sang "Part of Your World," and she went to reach up, and then her hand just comes back, that was one of those things that I connected with. I think because everybody wants to belong somewhere where they didn't. And as a child, I've said this on the air, I was bullied at times, didn't have many friends, which honestly I was okay with because I loved drawing and living in that world. I had two good friends, and in my opinion, that's all you needed. But I didn't really go out. They were friends of mine at school. I didn't really hang out with people, because I loved doing art when I got home. I loved living in these fantasy worlds, reading comics and traveling to wherever. I loved all that escapism stuff. But I think even though I loved it, I had no issue with it. You always just want to be able to belong somewhere, maybe that you don't you don't fit in with. And I think and all of a sudden that feeling that I got watching that scene is like, holy crap, that's what I want to give to other people. So when I was always trying to learn animation, I used to record on my VCR and play back in slow motion and see if I can figure out how animators move things. And it wasn't until I saw behind the scenes footage. It was a Disney thing. I don't know if it was for The Little Mermaid or if it was for something else. But that's when I'm like, oh, that's how you animate. And I started learning more and more and more and more about it. But at the same time, I got into comics, drawing them, because I knew I could tell my story a lot faster through drawing a comic than I could an animation. Now, I went to school. I've worked in animation. Nothing. Not for a major company, not like Disney or Warner Brothers or anything like that. I've worked for small studios, mostly computer animation, some 3D stuff back in the 90s, some 2D web stuff in the late 90s, early 2000s, using programs like Flash and whatnot. But they still had traditional aspects to the animation. So I'm a self-taught animator, although I did go to school for art. I'm self-taught in the way I learned what I could through books and talking to people and people showing me things, as opposed to sitting down in an actual class that wasn't about a computer program. But it was the 90s and everybody was focusing on programs, and I didn't get to go to a big name school like School of Visual Arts or SCAD or any place where I could learn traditional animation. It was more, here's a computer program, here's how it works, here's how you animate. And I took what I learned and knew growing up and through friends and whoever showing me things, and turned that into animation. And that's actually how I got my first gig at 18. Was I was working, I was at my college, and somebody got a flyer in the mail for the college, and they're like, oh, these people do what I need, teach the programs I need for this company. And it was a new company forming, and he came to look at stuff, and he liked my portfolio. Now, back then, I was using a program called Director. And if you don't know Director, it was basically Flash before Flash came out. And, it was also kind of like PowerPoint before PowerPoint came out, and PowerPoint was coming out around that time. And what I ended up doing was I was making interactive videos, but I didn't realize I was making them as like what games would be. Basically, what happened was my teacher would assign something, and it was more of an interactive presentation, more like a PowerPoint thing. But I wanted to animate cartoons. That was always my dream. So I would animate the characters, like click on a character walked to some place, and you'd hear a bell go off or something. And I'm like, I didn't realize what I was doing was making things that were video game based. And, the teacher always loved it. And what happened was when the guy came to the college and he saw my portfolio, he's like, this is what I need. You're making games. And it was an educational video game company. They're non-existent now. And it was only a small company, like maybe 6-7 people. We worked in Terrytown, New York. And I worked for him on and off for about 2 years. But yeah, I started off as a character designer. I moved up into animation, edited some videos. I even did some background sound effects, like recording them. I even did a little coding back then, which I'll never do again. I'm terrible at coding. I hate coding, and I believe that job and that program might be the reason why. But yeah, it was a very very fun experience. And then from there, I moved on to other jobs and working with web animation, working with graphic design, and all these things. I even spent some time mostly building puppets. I did perform a few, but I spent time in puppetry, which I loved. I did mostly like marionettes and things like that, but I loved all that. And if I didn't have a messed up knee and arthritis in my knees and hips, I might actually still be trying to do more puppetry work. I always love that. And who knows, maybe I'll do some this coming year, or at least plan some stuff. But I have a lot of 2021 projects. Even last night, and this is some of my problem, I came up with a new idea. And I pulled out my phone before I went to sleep, and I made a few notes on it. And I create constantly. I have so many, and I'm sure there's tons of creators out there who do this, and it's like, oh, I want to work on this idea now, but you got to get one project done at a time. And so I have this idea. I'll just say this. I have this idea. It's an anthology type of stories, but it's not where I'm going to ask other people to contribute. They're going to be short stories, 4 or 5 pages each, of characters that I've created that all relate around a certain topic. And I want to do it slow, but I do want to release it by the end of 2021 because I have all these other things. So this is more of kind of like I want something fun to do. Like, okay, I'll explain it this way. I was starting these things, and I didn't do it this past Saturday because of the holidays and whatnot, but I'm starting this thing called Storytelling Saturdays, and it's where I go and I talk about storytelling, which I taught for 16 years on the college level. It's what I do as a cartoonist and as an animator. All this, my job is to tell stories, and I'm more of a storyteller than anything. I think I may use the terms cartoonist, illustrator, animator, whatever I'm working in, but my job is to tell a story. So I'm basically a storyteller, and I love storytelling. And if I could, that would be the one class I would teach constantly every single day of my life. I just love to talk about storytelling and do things. Anyway, because I've worked in these industries, I've been part of pitches, and I've pitched my own stuff. And unfortunately, things didn't go places the way I wanted them to. I'm getting ready to do a couple of pitches actually for 2021. What I do, and some people will call it fan fiction, but I don't consider it that. What I do is I will take a licensed character that I liked growing up and said, if I had the opportunity to work on this character, how would I tackle it? And like I said, because I've worked on pitches, I look at it as this is something I could take somewhere. And I've been a big He-Man fan the majority of my life. I was born in '76. He-Man came out in '83, so I wasn't even 10. What was I, 7 when He-Man came out? And big influence. Things like that, Star Wars, Thunder the Barbarian, all that stuff. That sci-fi, fantasy, sword and sorcery stuff is, my whole, um, you know, I don't want to say life, but it's my favorite genre stuff. So He-Man was big. And back in like 2015, I wrote maybe 2-3 pages of a short He-Man story, and I took what I liked about the mini comics that came with the toys, what I liked about the Filmation series, even parts what I liked about the New Adventures of He-Man from the '90s, the 2000 series, and some of the comic stuff I've read from DC. And I took everything, and I kind of said, this is how I would tackle it. And I wrote one story, and then the story was basically the creation of Castle Grayskull and why it's called Grayskull, all this stuff, right? And what I ended up doing was eventually splitting that into 5 ideas of films. And I talked about on the first one, you can go on YouTube and or my Twitch channel, and you can see it. It's about an hour. I think I spoke maybe a little over, where I told the story of the first 2 films. And I decided, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to talk anymore about that, because I know I'll never get to work on He-Man. And I wanted this, by the way, I wanted this to be an epic fantasy, kind of Lord of the Rings-ish epic. And He-Man wasn't going to even appear until the 3rd film. It was really just going to be called Masters of the Universe, where the first story talks about kind of the ancients and the creation of Grayskull. The second one is a war, and kind of the formation of Skeletor. The third, which at the end, Prince Adam and Prince Adora would have been born, and the third one would be all about He-Man. The fourth one would be what I would call the trials of He-Man, let's say, and then the last one would have been the Battle of Grayskull. Okay, that's all I'm going to share. But I said, why am I sharing all this? If I can take it, create my own barbarian, so maybe change a few things that, take it away from the He-Man piece and create my own story. So that's one of the things that I plan on doing. I plan on writing this year. I don't think I'll draw it this year. This is probably a 2022 project. But I plan on writing a barbarian story that deals with fantasy and magic and sword and sorcery and stuff. Naomi, need to go for now. Hope you have a wonderful day. May the new year bring you too. Have a happy new year and have a great day. Thanks for watching. So I said, why not? And I have that with Black Star, which was '81, which came before He-Man. I have a new take on that, so I might actually incorporate that into the same story. I'm just gonna see what happens with my writing. I want to, even though I got artwork to do, because I have a friend writing Dax Photon for me, and I have that 12-page comic which was written by my friend Don Smith. Basically illustrated. I'm just working on the inks. I don't want to, and the whiz is all written for the most part, and plotted out. I just got to draw them. Since I got these things, and I can say, you know what, this week, and what I plan on doing is spending okay, let's say the first 2 weeks of January, I just draw the whiz. While I do the freelance stuff, work my day job, I'm okay with that. Let's say I do that, right? Excuse me. And then I say, okay, now I'm going to do this, because I don't think I'm going to start drawing Dax until about March based on my schedule. I can spend time writing, and I enjoy writing. I just haven't written in a while. I just kind of sketch down ideas or jot down a few notes for ideas, and I want to do some more writing. I want to focus on writing, and maybe I won't even draw it. Maybe I'll hire someone to draw it. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. but I have a lot of things, and I really want to turn 2021 around. I'm not gonna when Comic Cons come back. I'm not gonna probably do as many shows as I did in the past. I have enjoyed just being home uh, and creating product, getting back to my roots of creating. I have enjoyed talking with other artists on my show, which I will continue that. Um, and I want to just see some. I just want to see work come out. I love comics. I love creating. I love reading comics. Um, I'll tell you, I'm not a big mainstream fan anymore. Will always enjoy certain superheroes. You can see, where's my finger? Dr. Fate behind me. You can see the Jose Garcia Lopez. I love Dr. Fate, and he's one of my all-time favorite DC. I've always been more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. And I love those characters, but I'm just not really into the books these days. I prefer to read independent stuff like the Mythic Creature Trainer I shared with you. There's so many great books out there, and I do recommend, if you can, go on indieplanet.com, and you can purchase either actual print or digital copies, and they do offer free comics. Some of them are fantastic. Definitely go on that, check out and download some of the free comics, and just read them. They're really good. Some stuff gives you that feel like you're reading old school Marvel, or you're reading, just, they're different. They're heroes similar to, like, oh, this hero is similar to Batman, but he's not Batman. And there's these differences that make it a little more interesting sometimes. There's people out there using public domain characters, and I think that's fantastic. I love public domain characters. I think people should be using them more. Um, and for those who aren't aware, but public domain are characters that nobody owns because the copyrights fell out at some point. And there's some really, really good characters that do have a fan base out there. And I do want to use public domain. I love mythology. So characters, anybody in mythology, Hercules, King Arthur, any of those guys, they're all up for grabs. And I think I might do my own versions of them. I actually do have a story that I wrote years and years and years ago that I've never done anything with. And it was supposed to be a 6-book series. I only plotted out the first, well, I only did the roughs to the first book. At the time, it was called Tales of Magic, but I found out there was another book called that, so I got to change the title. But it uses a lot of mythology in there. It's about magic, obviously, and it's something eventually I do plan on doing. But I think I want to try to sell it more as a series, like a TV series, than a what's the word I'm looking for? Than a comic. I mean, I do love comics, but those are going to be in depth, and unless I pay someone, and the size of them, it's not worth it for me to do right now. So I think, and I've always thought of it more visually on the screen than I have on the page. So maybe that could be something I turn into a pitch for, a movie, like a couple of short movies. Sorry, just saw something pop up. But yeah, no. So I got a lot of stuff going on. I actually got to get going in a few to get back to working on my own stuff. I just wanted to come on, and since I'm off this week, because I do work in a school as my day job, I'm off this week, and maybe I'll come on every day, maybe do some drawing, maybe talk. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Who knows? We'll see how I feel. But I haven't streamed in a while. I do enjoy my streams. I do enjoy doing it. I enjoy chatting with you guys, people talking back in the comments. So I'm going to get going, but I want to say, don't forget to tune in tomorrow on getintoon.net on Facebook here, or watch me on YouTube at Michael Gracia, or even on my Twitch, ToonMaker76, which you can find everything right here to follow me. And you can watch live. Tomorrow night I'm going to have Todd Matthew on. Robots vs. Princesses is the book he created and wrote. The first issue was great, very kid-friendly. It's Disney princesses meet Transformers, at least as far as I can tell. I only read the first issue, but it's definitely worth checking out. It looks like a lot of fun. The artwork is great. The story is good. And I know it's like I think it's a 4 or 5 issue miniseries. There is a trade up on Amazon. And unfortunately, I just spent all my Amazon gift cards on other things. Some of it were things I needed for my business and projects I'm working on. So that had to come first. But I do eventually plan to pick it up on, at some point, whether it's at a comic book shop or on Amazon. I'd prefer to go to a comic book shop. You guys, you got to go out and support them. Everything, I like Amazon because I can get it in a couple of days, but the truth is I'd rather be at the comic shop buying comics than buying them online. And I think more people should be in the comic book shops buying comics and looking around, because you know what, like I said, there are so many great things out there that aren't just mainstream Marvel DC stuff. Go out and look and see other Aftershock is doing some good things. Image, which I now consider almost mainstream, has some great books out there. Just go around and look, man. Find other things. I mean, they could still be superheroes, but so many great books out there, and these indie creators really need your support. So hopefully you guys can keep tuning in, watching Get in Tune. My interviews on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, if you guys know people, message me about it. Let me know. I wanna check out work, and if I can get a PDF of some of the work so I can read before I bring you on, so I know what I'm talking about. I mean, that's kind of how I work a little bit. I'd love to bring on guests who need the support. If you see great stuff out there that you think should be promoted, whether it's your work or someone else's, send me a message and tell me who they are. I'll reach out to them. I'll take a look at their stuff. And, like I said, I already have January and February booked, and some of March almost booked. Got a whole year of content I need to make, and I'm always happy to learn about stuff that I don't know about. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. for Todd Matthew. Maybe I'll be on tomorrow morning again. But thanks for watching. I mean, enjoyed chatting with everybody. I'm looking forward to 2021. I'm glad 2020 is coming to an end, and I'm not one of those people like, oh, it was the terrible year because of whatever. For me, medically, it just wasn't a great year. I lost, like I said, about 4 or 5 months, maybe a little bit more, just because I had COVID. So I'm looking to a healthier and more productive 2021. All right, guys. So thank you for watching. Things, again, may be changing a bit in what I'm doing, but you'll see more stuff. You guys have a great day. Hope you had a great holiday. If you're still celebrating, have a great holiday continuing. And I'll definitely see you before the New Year's over, but Happy New Year, guys. All right. Bye.